Good evening, everyone. Could we please get started? Call to order. Before we do our call to order, just a reminder, if you're carrying a cell phone, computer, two-way radio, or other sound device, we ask that you silence it at this time to minimize disruption of today's meeting. So can we please go call to order, District 1?
Present.
District 2, present. District 3 is Supervisor Ryan. He is not in attendance tonight. District 4?
Present.
And District 5 is on our way, but because it's an evening meeting and to respect everybody's time, we're getting started, and she'll join us shortly. Now, could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Now we'll go to a call to the public. Excuse me. Items presented during the call to the public portion of the agenda cannot be acted upon by the Board of Supervisors if they're not on the agenda. For items not on the agenda, individual supervisors may ask questions of the public but are prohibited by open meeting law from discussing or considering the item among themselves until the item is officially placed on the agenda. Individuals are limited in their presentation. We will take public comment from those in the room first, and then public comments from those who have joined virtually. Clerk Daly will explain how the public can provide comments.
Thank you, Supervisor Ryan. At this time, if there is anyone that would like to provide a public comment that is here in person, you can make your way up to the podium. All right, if there's anyone in the virtual Zoom format of the meeting that would like to provide comment at this time, you can hit the raise hand icon that will appear if you hover towards the bottom of your screen. It's an icon that looks like a hand. If you click on that, that will notify us that you would like to speak. If you've joined the meeting by telephone, you can hit star. Oh, we do have somebody on that virtually that would like to provide a public comment. Mike Ferlazzo, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak. And if you just unmute, you can go ahead and you have 3 minutes to provide a comment. Please state your name and address.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
We can.
This is Mike Ferlazzo at 9200 North Roundtree Road. Is this really the time to give a public comment concerning?
Actually, it's not. We're going to get to that later on the agenda. So the public comment you would like to make, you'll have that opportunity once we get to that agenda item.
So sorry. I'll lower my hand. Should I lower my hand?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, gosh, sorry.
Not
That's
a problem. Thank you for your patience. And thank you for asking first, because we've had other public hearings where people just go into their comment and then we have to stop them. So I really appreciate you asking right out of the gate. Okay, so then in that case, so we can get moving forward, we'll now go into consent agenda. All items under consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by a single motion. Are there any items that board members want to consider separately?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Vice Chair.
I would like to have items number 3, 6A and 6B.
Okay, okay. Okay, can I get a motion to approve this consent agenda items 1 through 6 minus number 3 and number 6A, 6B? Is 6A, 6B part of the consent agenda or is those separate items? Oh, okay. Excuse me. In that case, we're only talking about consent agenda items 1 through 6 minus number 3. Can I have a motion?
A motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 6, exclusive of number 3.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay. Unanimously approved. Now if we could look to number 3 and pass it on to our county manager.
This item would be presented by Billy Francis, who's the Director of the Workforce Investment Board. Is Billy on?
He is not on, but Yanzi is on, trying to promote Yanzi. Yanzi, if
Okay.
you can please accept the promotion. And County Manager Prue, I do have Heather, who's one of the appointees on as well, virtually.
Okay.
Yanzi, if you want to unmute.
Hi.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask staff for the Workforce Development Board, Yanzi, to present the item. And then we do have Heather. I cannot pronounce the last name and I do not want to mispronounce it, but Heather is on and she is one of the nominees for one of the seats on the Workforce Development Board. So, Yanzi, if you can present the item, please.
Can I just say we actually have our board chair, Bruce Sobchak, invited join this meeting. He will be a better person for me. Let me to present this item. I just wondering if we can.
Yanzi, you're not coming across very well, so if you can speak more into the mic.
I'm sorry about that. Is that better now?
A little better.
Yes, we actually invited our chair, board chair, Bruce Sobchak,
Okay.
join the meeting.
Okay, so is there Bruce? Okay, Bruce, you're on. So
Oh,
you go and
yes,
present
I'm
the
on.
item.
Let me jump in here. I'm trying to start my video, so.
We can hear you, Bruce, so you can go proceed without video.
Okay, great. So item 3 is consideration for the new appointments. Lydia is on, I believe, with us. Or Heather is.
Yes.
We've got 3 new additions that we'd like to add to our Workforce Development Board. Recruiting new membership has been a high priority for us as we formed our new executive committee, filling all the requirements for the board and the chair. So I want, we're submitting these names for consideration to be on the board, and we'd encourage the Board of Supervisors to please approve them.
Mr. Chair, and also to Chair Sobczak, we do have Heather with us, and our practice has been to provide the opportunity for the individual that's being suggested for appointment to make some comments. So with your permission, we
By all
can call on Heather to make some comments. Heather?
So my name is Heather Bachicha. I am the workforce supervisor for Arizona at Work for all of Coconino County.
Thank you. And again, Mr. Chair, both chairs, the Workforce Development Board, through the Workforce Investment Act, there are certain segments that are required, and the individuals that are being recommended for appointment do fit the requirements regarding the sectors within the Workforce Development Board that are required.
Great, thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the board?
I may.
Supervisor Horstman.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Heather, for joining us tonight, and thank you for your willingness to be appointed to this important board. The Workforce Development Board is obviously something that we in Coconino County want to support, do support, and we're so pleased that you're willing, and the others who have also put their name forward, some excellent choices here. And Julie Pastrick and you both have deep roots, not only here in the community, but also in economic development. So thank you so much, and we appreciate your willingness to serve.
Thank you, Supervisor Horstman. Any other comments from supervisors? Supervisor Fowler?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I apologize that I was late. The Arizona Supreme Court is having its session here as well. So I was with them to this earlier and this evening, so I apologize for being late. But the Arizona Board Workforce Development Board in Coconino County is very important. I really appreciate the work that you're doing. I know that adding to your full-time job and then volunteering in the community and especially with such a important role like this is really important. So just want to thank you and all those that are currently serving as well, because we have board members from across the county and we try to make it very diverse. And because our population is diverse, workforce is diverse. So really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Want to thank Billy as well, the director.
Thank you, Supervisor Fowler. Vice Chair Begay.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you I just want to say thank you so much for be willing to be on the board. As my colleagues are stating, that I also acknowledge all the comments that they're making here, with sincerity, and that we really appreciate the workforce board and also the employees. And so we just want to say welcome aboard. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And I'd just like to say thank you and welcome aboard. We need your new ideas, your innovations, and your contributions to our Workforce Development Board, and look forward to working with you moving forward. Thank you. Okay, with that, can I get a motion to approve the appointment of Lydia Walgus, Julie Pastrick, and Heather Bachiacha? Did I get it right? Bachicha. To the Coconino Workforce Development Board for a 2-year term expiring on September 21st, 2025.
So move.
Thank you. We have a motion by Vice Chair Begay, a second.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Horseman. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. That's unanimously approved. Now on to our action items. These were added after the original agenda was sent out and posted, but it was the agenda was amended with items 6A and 6B within the 24-hour deadline of the meeting. And so now we'll discuss the consideration and possible action to approve resolution 2023-57, amending resolution 2023-45, which was approved on August 29th, 2023, to levy taxes for all special taxing jurisdictions for the fiscal year of 2023-2024 in order to make a correction to the Page Hospital District tax rate and revise the Schedule A tax schedule. Invite our Treasurer Sarah Benatar to come speak regarding item 6A.
Nope, that's not gonna work. Okay. Thank you, Chair Vasquez, members of the board. Before you, we are requesting an amendment to the current tax rate, specifically for Page Hospital District. An error was found with the original submission of their budget. The correction actually reduces the tax rate for Page Hospital District, which we feel would be beneficial to do it this tax year versus the other option, which is to wait to next tax year to offset the taxes. So our request is that we have that happen currently in this fiscal year and in this tax year. I know also on virtually attending are the CEO for Page Hospital District, Ralph Parker, and also Assessor Ruiz is here in case there's any technical questions on how this will all play out. And with that, I will answer any questions you all may have.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions by members of the board? You want to start, Supervisor Fowler?
Yes, thank you. This is in my district and just want to let you know that we've been, I've had communications and working with Sarah and Sue and the county manager and the team from Coconino County, as well as the CEO of Page Banner, and just keeping our Mayor Dyack apprised of what's going on. So really appreciate Sarah taking quick action. She was on the road when she learned about this, and she took care of everything with a smile. So as she always does. And when we first heard about it, it was like, oh my gosh, this is very complex. But no, she knows how to make it very simple and address it. So thank you, Sarah. Thank you. And thank you, Steve, with your team, and Armand. We really we were able to, I think, be able to address this and have a community meeting at the same time once this is approved. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Supervisor Fowler. And yes, we will be having myself and my Chief Deputy Sue Waka will be going up. And I want to say thank you to Mr. Parker for actually helping us secure a location. So we'll be up there later this month for a couple hours to answer any questions residents may have, be able to print out right there and there statement taxes due, be able to accept tax payments in person as well. And just a very quick update, we will also be rebilling. And so our hope is to get that out by next Friday. But as soon as we are processed and go through our that whole process in terms of correcting the roll, it will, as soon as my office process the correction, it will actually be available live online. And so that'll be available obviously before we send out the new rebilling notices, but do want to put that out there if there's any other questions. And again, thank you, Supervisor Fowler.
Thank you, Treasurer Benatar.
Yes, thank you.
All right, any other comments from supervisors? Okay, I just wanted to ask Assessor Reese if maybe you could comment a little bit on the assessor's role in this process as we go forward and make changes to our tax levy.
Thank you, Chair Vasquez. Armando Reese, Coconino County Assessor. The assessor plays a technical role in this process. So once the correction is approved, the assessor will pass the correction to the treasurer's office to begin the rebilling process. I've worked with my team pretty extensively to figure out how to do that effectively and quickly as possible. So we're hopeful that'll happen in a mass process. We can pass all the corrections all at once. If for any reason we can't pass those, we will have to pass them individually. And so that may take some time and resources, but as I shared with Treasurer Benatar, the assessor's office is willing to do what we need to do to make sure we pass those very quickly. So thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Appreciate all the hard work on everybody involved, both electeds and staff and the folks in Page for catching this mistake and correcting it, so that way we can have a proper tax levy. So I appreciate the work of everybody involved to help get us to this point. With that said, may I have a motion to approve resolution 2357, amending resolution 2023-45, which was approved on August 29th, 2023 to levy taxes for all special taxing jurisdictions for fiscal year 2023-2024 in order to make a correction to the Page Hospital District tax rate and revise the Schedule A tax schedule.
So moved.
Thank you. A motion by Supervisor Fowler. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Begay. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now, item 6B, this was brought to our attention yesterday, and this is consideration and possible action to accept the resignation of Matt Ryan, District 3 County Supervisor, with his last day being December 31st, 2023, due to retirement. So I'll hand it over to our county manager.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this certainly is bittersweet, more bitter actually and sad. And Matt Ryan is not with us tonight. He just recently had surgery and he's convalescing. And so I know he's probably watching. So he'll appreciate the first time I met Matt Ryan is when I was the elections director back in the early 90s, and he was a poll worker. Little did I ever know that actually he would be one of my bosses. So you never want to, cross paths with someone who may end up being your boss. But for the record, I will read into the record his letter to each of you and turn the floor back over to Mr. Chair and members. So from Matt Ryan to everyone. So This is dated October 9th, 2023. Dear Geronimo and fellow board members, Lena, Patrice, and Judy. I'm submitting this letter to announce my intent to retire at the end of this year. My last day to be December 31st, 2023. This will be 1 year shy of completing this 4-year term, my 7th term. I will have served 27 years. This notice will provide you, Board of Supervisors, with enough time to make an appointment to finish out the term as I step out. I've had the great pleasure to work with many people over the past 27 years of stewardship of our beautiful county in many ways, working with both the natural and the cultural landscapes. It has been a life's journey from the very beginning. It is the right time. My family wants me back. I am at an age at which I wish to be there. While there is always a need to rationalize a reason to continue, I step out knowing that we have good people working with a desire to help their community. We have good management under Steve's great leadership, thank you, Matt, and many professionals in the field of their expertise taking care of our Coconino County, the people, and the land. There is pride in this county where we seek to do right, to be innovative, to make it a better place. We have been frugal and fiscally responsible. When there's a need, we brought it to the people to seek support and work together with our community to fairly represent the benefit to the community. There are too many areas to cite where this has come to be, but it is true. I am proud of what we have done. I trust in those that are here and those that will follow to do right. It is about time, our home, Coconino County. I thank you, the board, for the time we have had together. I thank many people over the years. I thank everyone, those that agreed with me and those that didn't, and helped me see that which I may have not have seen. I appreciate the support I have had within the community. I will be off on another journey in life. You can think of me out there, out somewhere on the trail with the knowing smile. Until we meet again, sincerely, with pride and love, Matt Ryan. Chair, back to you.
Thank you. That's a very powerful statement, and just really appreciate Matt Ryan's leadership and mentorship as the youngest member on the board that came shortest amount of time on the board. He helps shape and form my approach to being a supervisor, and so I really appreciate his work. Do we have any comments from the board before we move forward? Supervisor Horstman.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody does. So this is really bittersweet. This is my first year on the board, or first term on the board. And, Matt was 27 years of experience, really was not only the institutional memory, he was somewhat the sage. He had been there, he had done it, he had seen it. And he was someone that, I certainly turned to, and I think my colleagues did as well. We're going to miss him. He always is very steady. And he always put the county, it was always number one. When I was first running for office, he says, the one thing you have to be a good supervisor, says you have to always put the county first. It comes above friendships. It comes above people you've worked with for years. When you act, you must always put the county first. And I really appreciate that. That was great advice. It's something that I certainly strive to live towards, and really appreciate his teaching. I really appreciate his humor, and have appreciated his professionalism as well as his friendship here on the board. And I'm going to miss him. But I know he's going to be around. We'll see him on his bicycle. He'll probably come in with his helmet and, just checking out what's going on here. And so I know he's still here. I know he will always be an active part of this community. I know that Coconino County is in his heart, and I've certainly appreciated his service. So it's bittersweet, but I know Teresa and his sons and his grandchildren are really going to, and his daughter are going to really, really enjoy having more time with their dad and their grandpa. So, and I'm sure Teresa will, well, maybe Teresa will want to spend more time with her husband. We'll see. Teresa, you'll have to let us know. But in all seriousness, I'm glad he's putting, now he's served his time, and I'm glad he's putting his family first. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Horstman. And who's next? Like, Lena, would you like to go? Vice Chair, do you mind going first?
Yes. Wow. We will surely miss our colleague. This is my first year, my first term being on the board also. And when I first came in, he was always there, willing to help, advise, and he was very respectful in our opinions and quiet. Yeah, you always teased him. So anyway, and he's very thoughtful of others, and very humorous, and like I said, he was always there for each and every one of us, and certainly he did a lot for the county overall. And it takes a lot to be a supervisor. Sometimes you're gone working 7 days a week, and that's basically what it is. So I just want to say, I appreciate Matt, for who he is, and I'm certainly his family will appreciate, him being home and, being there with them, and, start on activities or, things that he kind of put aside, just to help, being an advocate and helping the people within his district and overall, the whole Coconino County. So I just want to say thank you. At some point in time, we have to respect people's decision, and I think 27 years is a long time. But I always told him, I said, this is my 50th year as a public servant, and he laughs about it. He says, well, I did 27, and I did more work than you did. So, but anyway, so we're gonna miss him, and we just have to respect that, and we just want to thank him for all the years that he's been here helping each and every one of us, and being there for us overall. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice Chair Begay. One thing as you were talking, it made me realize is one thing that I really appreciated about Supervisor Ryan was during land hearings, his approach. I mean, he really laid it out there so that everybody understood exactly why he was going in the direction he was. And sometimes as a new supervisor, when you don't know these things and you haven't been exposed to a lot of those kinds of meetings, it was very enlightening. And I really learned ways to explain my position on these hearings moving forward. And so I just wanted to share that because I really appreciated Matt Ryan's contributions there. Supervisor Fowler.
Matt, we ask you to stay and serve out your term, but it just wasn't to be. So I just want to thank you. I've served with you since the day that I came into office. We work with other board members that are really strong in their position. We had a really strong board. We worked on a lot of issues. You represented us on transportation, at the local, the FMPO, the rural transportation at the state, and as well as the national level. We're members of the National Counties Association. I used to encourage you to run for the NACO president because everyone respected you, and everyone still does. And everyone knew you and knew how balanced you are, and brought balance and reason to whatever that was coming before the meeting. And we always brought in that reason, the reasoning, and really just brought that into your work. You really understand the process of the board and the county. First time we had dinner, and I'm new, and we're having dinner. We used to have board dinners. And here we all order and we get our plates, and the first thing he does, he starts eating out of my plate, and it's like, I'm surprised because I'm new and I'm first time, I don't know these people, and here he starts eating. He says, I'm a middle child. You gotta, you can't wait for others, So, and it just was, the humor and just the free spirit that you have just brought everything to light, and just really, I'm gonna really miss that, because that's what we need here. You've accomplished so much. How can we summarize everything? Just Repi alone, working with the military, and we didn't know, having a property donated to us, and we're wondering what we're gonna do with it, and then really campaigning and getting the open space, to get that passed, and being able to use that to work on with dark skies, and really working on the environment, the trails, and just the parks that are in Coconino County. Just really knowing how to work with staff, respecting staff, and respecting our partners, just really says a lot. He brought the J-Loose together. J-Loose, that's like, who's not at the table? And just really, we worked hard on that, and I have so much respect for you. And then we had to do the Proposition 4-3, and boy, we went back and forth on that one as a board, and we had to take it out into the community, and in the end, we decided how we're gonna do that, and you were always the balancing one there. So I really appreciate that, and we use that to maintain roads in Coconino County, because we just don't have the funding to be able to do all the roads. Even that, we're falling short on it. So citizens call us and ask us, why can't we maintain these roads and get them to, but they do a great job. And see Chris sitting over there. Hi, Chris. And just really amazing. I know that our executive staff really, really appreciate you. I see Jay here with community development, and Jess, they work together really hard on the short-term rental ordinance, and you really took that one and took it to the state, and was able to get the state to change its position so that we can protect our neighborhoods, our communities with the short-term rentals, and being able to put the ordinance together and have a safe business that people can run. And that's just, just the way you are. And just being a veteran too, you're a veteran, you're Marine, my son's Marine. And how you just fight for the Marines, and just represented us at the state level for the Marines, and worked at the national level. Just gonna really, you leave a big space and with a big heart, but you are leaving us with what you taught us. You taught me a lot. And you and the other board members that we served with. I got elected in 2009. I just learned so much from all of them. And now you're gonna be leaving, and we're just gonna carry on, and really gonna miss you. But we will carry on the work that you have started and some of the ones that you haven't completed. So really want to thank you and your family for sharing you with us. I know family is everything, and so we understand. So thank you for what you've done for the county. Thank you for what you've done for each and every one of the individuals that have worked with you, like myself. And I know of the other board members that you served with before, I know that they would be saying the same thing here. So thank you so much. Really appreciate you. And I know the staff would love to say thank you to you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Supervisor Fowler. Supervisor Horseman.
And I'm assuming, County Manager, that we will at an appropriate time when he's healed and riding his bicycle again, that hopefully we will have an event for him to really acknowledge and recognize his great service.
That is correct. We'll be planning that with the board and input from staff as well, but the best is yet to come in terms of the send off.
Great, thank you. Now, may I have a motion to accept the resignation of Matt Ryan, District 3 County Supervisor, with his last day being December 31st, 2023, due to retirement? I have a motion by Supervisor Fowler. I have
Second.
A second by Supervisor Horseman. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, so the next steps, we will have continued discussions.
Respectfully, I.
I believe October 24th, County Manager.
That is correct. On October 24th, we'll be putting the item on the board's agenda for discussion to discuss the process that will be used to go through the consideration of interested individuals for appointment. And so the discussion will begin on October 24th. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, next up, the next item is a public hearing. We will have the staff present first, then the applicant will present. I will then open up the public hearing and ask for comments from the public. At that time, Clerk Daly will provide instructions on how to provide comments in person and virtually. First, we will start with the staff's presentation and then the applicant's presentation.
Mr. Chair, would you mind reading item number 7 so we know that what it's on?
Sure. This is a public hearing, consideration and possible action to improve Resolution 2023-54, modifying the conditions of approval of the Ranch at the Peaks final plat location in Fort Valley on 185 acres. The applicant is Kent Hotspin-Peller of Mogollon Engineering, Flagstaff, Arizona, and the owner is Cygnus Capital of Atlanta, Georgia. Hope I pronounced those right.
I think it's Cygnus Capital.
Cygnus Capital. Sorry. I have a difficult name to pronounce as well, so I feel the pain.
Mr. Chair, Supervisor of the Board, Jay Crystalman, Community Development, good evening. Thank you for the opening. You saved me one slide that I don't have to go through. So I'll just repeat what you said. So the property owner is Cygnus SBL Peaks, Atlanta, Georgia. We do have John Lyons here with us from that organization in person. Kent Hotspin-Peller, we call him Hots. We've worked with him for a very long time. Yeah, to pronounce his name. With Mogollon Engineering here in Flagstaff, Arizona. The zoning is RR 2.5, which is rural residential 2.5 acre minimum parcel size. The overall subdivision is 185 acres in size, and it is located in District 1. Supervisor Patrice Horseman. The request this evening is to modify Condition 7, which is to remove the requirement to improve Roundtree Road to county standards, specifically meaning paving, and also to remove Condition 18 that requires a trail to be built on the west side of the subdivision that goes around the perimeter in most backyards. Here's the overall vicinity map. It's in the greater Fort Valley area, just beyond Snowball Road, right-hand side. Here is the Ranch of the Peaks actual, that's what the plat subdivision looks like superimposed on our GIS layer. Roundtree Road is off to the left-hand side. You can see it. and it's actually not located within the Rancho Peak subdivision. This is a fairly recent picture of Roundtree Road. Well, from this past season, after it was plowed and graded, you can see it's a well-maintained road when it is taken care of, particularly after plowing.
Yeah, that's a good road.
Yeah. This is what the preliminary plat looks like with the interior roads and retention areas within the center. There's quite a background with this subdivision. It was originally approved in 2006 with the preliminary plat approval. And then in 2007, the final plat was approved for the first 34 lots. There are a total of 74 lots in the 3 phases of the subdivision. In 2009, and then again in 16, requests for modifications to the conditions similar to what we're here this evening for. There was one that was approved an extended time frame for paving Roundtree Road. That was to coincide with the platting of phase 3. Also, the removal of the requirement to construct a split rail perimeter fence. That was also approved back in 2016 to remove that requirement. And then also the removal of the requirement to construct a trail on the east side of the subdivision. At the time, that was denied. And then in 2019, phase 2, the final plat was approved. Again, that was 20 lots. The applicant did bond for the improvements that were required at that time. And then in 2022, phase 3, this is back in October, I believe, the final plat was approved for phase 3. That was the final 20 lots. And the applicant had provided a bond at that time for the original requirement to pave Roundtree Road, which was a 2006 condition. And the entire Ranch of the Peak subdivision has now been final platted. And the county subdivision ordinance provides amending final platted subdivisions, which is why we're here this evening. Before I proceed, moving on from the background, is there any questions?
If I may,
Supervisor Horstman.
and I think you meant the trail on the west side, didn't you?
Did
Not
I
the
say
east.
the
Yeah,
east?
yeah. Just for clarification.
Thank you, Supervisor Horstman. Appreciate that. The modification, there's a lot to read on that slide. It's not very large. I'll read the stricken language that is being requested to be removed this evening. And that is at the time of the submittal of the final plat for any portion of the subdivision after the first 54 lots, the applicant shall also be responsible for the improvement of Roundtree Road from Taylor Springs Lane to Highway 182 county standards. And the second stricken piece being requested is, if possible, the easement obtained from the Forest Service for Roundtree shall be wide enough to accommodate a meandering road. So that is the entirety of condition 7, and those are the pieces stricken there that you can see that are being requested. And then the entirety of condition 18 is being recommended to be removed. And that is, a trail shall be constructed as proposed along the west side of the subdivision from Highway 180 to the National Forest at the northwest boundary of the subdivision, or to any other point in this area approved by the Forest Service. The trail shall be constructed at least to the standards set for the Foots Trail System. The trail shall be for non-motorized use only, located within pedestrian easements on the lots of the subdivision and maintained by the subdivision HOA. So again, the entirety of condition 18 is being requested to be removed. There was a citizen participation meeting pursuant to our subdivision ordinance that took place October 11th, 2022. Neighbors within 1,000 feet of the subdivision boundary were notified. 22 neighbors signed in at the virtual meeting. The report in this meeting is attached with the staff report and received by both the applicant and staff. Most of the comments from inside and outside of the subdivision supported 2 things. 1, retaining the requirement to pave or improve Roundtree Road, and all but 1 that we received comments on supported removing the requirement to build the trail. There's some consideration, actually a lot of consideration, that the trail goes around ends everyone's backyard essentially, and it is an unfenced subdivision, hence the support to remove that condition. Any questions before I proceed?
Supervisor Horstman.
Mr. Chair and Supervisor Horstman, I believe that is correct. We did receive 1 comment to retain the trail, but I do not think that that individual lives within the Ranch of the Peak subdivision. Thank you. Thank you. From a staff analysis, the requirement to pave Roundtree Road became a condition because originally Chimney Springs Road, which is the primary access for this subdivision, was not, the easements were not obtained and that was not constructed at the time. So Roundtree Road was, before the subdivision was even beginning to be built, that was the only access. It was a landlocked parcel before Chimney Springs Road was established as the primary ingress and egress for the subdivision. There are no issues with Roundtree Road providing emergency access in its current condition, and we did receive a comment from the Forest Service verifying that. The Forest Service has indicated verbally they will not provide an easement or support paving or improving Roundtree Road. We also received an email that was pretty finite with regards to the paving of Roundtree Road. And in a site visit where Principal Planner Bob Short and I met with now retired program manager at the Forest Service, Deidre Marks, she had indicated that the Forest Service would not issue an easement at all. They did not want to see Roundtree Road any different than it currently is now. A lot of that had to do with the experimental forest, apparently. The trail, moving on to that item, the trail would be private and only accessible to property owners within the subdivision. It was not intended to be a public trail. Most property owners, like we just mentioned, did not want the trail. But the 50-foot easement would remain. That was part of the approved plat. Any questions before I proceed?
Actually, Supervisor Horstman.
And this is just for clarification. And I think what you're saying is that Roundtree Road, in fact, is within the Forest Service property, and that the city of Flagstaff. No, I don't think they do. The county does have an agreement for that road with the Forest Service. You may want to explain that.
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Horstman, thank you. So Roundtree Road is what is considered a Schedule A road. And Christopher, if you'd like to add anything, please let me know. I'm not asking you to. So it's a Schedule A road, which means that the county it's a Forest Service owned road that the county has an agreement with the Forest Service to maintain it. In this case, bless you. In this case, there's a portion of the road that has an easement from 50 years ago this year that is paved, and the rest of the road is dirt that we maintain as dirt. That means plowing and periodic grading and application of dust abatement through a water truck. So does that help to answer that question?
It does, and you may want to explain that the way you must maintain it is for the purpose of passenger cars. Is that correct?
Yes, Supervisor Horstman, that's correct. So the findings for a preliminary plat that the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Supervisors must make, that the proposed subdivision conforms to the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan and its amendments, that the design of the proposed subdivision will not cause substantial environmental damage and will not present serious public health problems. C, that the site of the proposed subdivision is physically suitable for the proposed type and density of development. D, that the proposed subdivision is consistent with provisions and intent of zoning regulations applicable to the property. And E, that the proposed subdivision conforms to the improvements and design standards set forth in the zoning ordinances and subdivision ordinance. Now, the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend that the Board of Supervisors approve subdivision 22-037, which is the recommended plat modifications and condition modifications, excuse me. And subdivision 22-037 may be approved through approval of resolution 2023-54. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Supervisor Horstman.
You can see this is in my district. I'm very concerned about this and we want to talk about this. So, one of the things that you haven't mentioned is, why are we here? Why is there a recommendation for modifications? And obviously one is the trails. It sounds like that's the vast majority and 100% of those that are affected by the trail would like to see that removed. But with regards to the requirement for the paving of Round Spring Road, why are we here for that modification and why is this being recommended?
Mr. Chair and Supervisor Horstman, thank you. So Like I mentioned early in the presentation, this subdivision was originally approved in 2006. It was assumed from then until approximately a year and a half ago that the improvements to Roundtree Road were supposed to be paved. We don't actually have anything in our minutes, anything prior to, I think, 2012 that indicate that improving Roundtree meant paving. We did a thorough analysis of that over the last year. So when that came about a year and a half ago, when Principal Planner Bob Short and I went and met with Deidre Marks, with the Forest Service Program Manager on site, she said, Jay, what is all of this with regards to Roundtree Road? We have no records of anything from any developer with Roundtree Road. And we came to realize right then and there that nobody on our staff, our predecessor staff, the original developer from 2006, nobody had ever confirmed with the Forest Service that what would they want to see acceptable for as far as Roundtree Road. It had been a Schedule A road.
Supervisor Horstman.
So I guess what you're trying to say is it's an impossible condition to be met by the developer. Is that the bottom line that we're dealing with?
Mr. Chair and Supervisor Horstman, as far as paving, absolutely. When we were visiting with Deidre on site, she had said the road is in good condition. It's not accessed by a tremendous amount of traffic. It's a good road, to use her terms exactly. It's regularly plowed and maintained. And then we drove it together. And then when we got to the boundary of the experimental forest, she had said this cannot be disturbed. We don't want to see any disturbance to the experimental forest. And like I said, verbally, she had said the Forest Service will not issue any easements to the county and does not want to see it disturbed any more than it currently is.
Supervisor Horstman.
So if in fact there is a condition that went back to 2006 before any of us were on this board, and of course, most of you probably weren't here in community development or in public works. But we find out now many years later that there is a condition on there that is impossible to meet because the property is Forest Service property. I would like to know from our legal counsel where that puts us. Where does that put the county? And what does this mean if there is a condition that's been approved by prior boards that cannot be met?
Yes.
Thank you,
Please,
Chair.
please continue.
From a legal standpoint, we cannot require the developer to do something that is legally impossible to do. So to answer your original question, that is why we are here. It is a legal and physical impossibility because nobody who has authority or owns the road, I'll withdraw that. That was poorly worded. The county has, since 2006 attempted to impose this condition. We do not have the authority to give the developer the right to do anything to the road. The Forest Service has said they don't wish for anything further to be done to the road. So we cannot continue to impose this requirement, which was a requirement for the subdivision.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from board members? Supervisor Horstman.
And I know we're going to open this up to a public hearing, and I really want to say most of my remarks for after we hear from the public. I do want to point out that, we in the board and the county, we're put in a very difficult position. Normally when you have years that have gone by where you have conditions that are to be met, people go there because they have an expectation, or they build there, they move there. They have an expectation of what that's going to be like. And it has put us in a position that many years later, we are being asked to modify by, quite frankly, removing that condition. And I know just from the information or the emails and the letters and the comments we've received, it's a concern for the public and the people who live out in that area as well. On the other hand, we're put in a position and the developer is put in a position to try to meet a condition that's impossible to meet. And so we're really, unfortunately, as a board, we're between a rock and a hard place. And I know that everybody here on this board, and I'm speaking for myself as well, we want to do what's in the best interest of our community. We want to do what's in the best public interest. So as we move forward in this public hearing, I hope that, we can keep open minds and think about that, because we can't keep a condition that cannot be met. It's just inappropriate and illegal, and we'll get sued. So with that, I look forward to making other comments, but only after public hearing.
Thank you, Supervisor Horstman. Are there any other comments from board members at this time? In that case, I'll pass it over to you, Jay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Supervisor Horstman. That does conclude the presentation, but I would like to add that Planning and Zoning Commission, their comment was it's a condition that should have never been conditioned.
Thank you.
With that, I'll be happy to turn over to the applicant.
Please do. Thank you.
Chair, Vice Chair, Supervisors, Lindsay Shuby. I'm with the law firm of Gamage and Burnham. Continuing on the difficult names, I get Shub, but Lindsay Shuby with Gamage and Burnham, 40 North Central in Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you so much. It's nice to be here. Last time I was in front of you, we were all virtual, so it's also very nice to see all your smiling faces. I'm not going to say a lot, which is very unusual for a lawyer, right? We normally like all of our words. But when I saw the presentation that Jay was making, it's very clear and concise, what the request is. Supervisor, I appreciate you summing it down to it's a legal impossibility is where we're at. The Forest Service owns the land. I'll say it's very unusual, and I can't imagine under this watch that there would be a condition of approval put on a piece of property that you don't own. Right? Normally, all the conditions have to do with your own property. So it's unusual. We're all put in this spot. I don't think any of us were there, including my client in 2006. So with that, we do have a recommendation of approval from Planning and Zoning Commission. Respectfully request approval of the board this evening and stand for questions. Also happy to answer questions after the public comment if you have questions following.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from board members at this time? Vice Chair Brigay.
Mr. Chair, just want to make a comment, seems like, we are between a rock and a hard place, but I think, I would like to hear from the comments that are going to be made. And then also, it is true that a condition should have never been made on something that we couldn't do. So it's kind of hard, but I would like to see, what we can do for the community at best. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other comments at this time? Okay, in that case, thank you very much for your presentation. We will now be looking to open up the public hearing. So I am now opening the public hearing. When you are called to speak, announce your name and place of residence. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. Please make sure that your comments are directed to the topic. Clerk Daly, please explain how those here in person and those virtually can provide public comment.
Thank you, Chair Vasquez. If you're here in person, would like to provide a comment, we don't have a whole lot of people here. I invite you up to the podium to make a comment, or we do have comment cards on the table right by the entry. If you don't want to speak, but you do want to provide a written comment for the record, and hand that to me, I can take it. I can also read it for you if you do not prefer to read it yourself. Also, if you joined us virtually and you'd like to provide comment during this public hearing, you can hit *9 and you can hit raise hand. If you hover towards the bottom of your screen, it's an icon that looks like a hand. That will raise your hand and notify us that you would like to speak. If you've joined by telephone, you can hit *9 and that will raise your hand and notify us that you would like to speak. Is there anyone here in person that would like to provide public comment at this time? Come on up to the podium, please. You just state your name and address for the record for our minutes, then I will start the clock after you state your name and address, and the green light will go on, and then when it turns red, that will conclude the 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair. Sorry, was I supposed to hit something? Okay. And members of the board, my name is Stephanie Sardi.
Just make sure your microphone is on too, so we can
It's
hear you.
green.
Okay.
I just need to
Thank you.
speak towards it, don't I? Thank you. I'm a homeowner in Rancho the Peaks, lot 24. Miss Meidinger will be speaking, I believe, online pretty soon, and I would like to support everything that she said. We just received today a document. It looks quite old. I have it open, showing that Roundtree Road. There's an easement on there that's much further than we were aware of. I thought it was a 1/4 mile, and it looks like it's about a 1/2 mile, maybe halfway up Roundtree. And I ask that that be improved, if that is the case, and I'm reading this correctly. Last thing I have to say, you are here to protect us, to have our backs. It's not the developer's responsibility to get the Forest Service's approval, it's the county's. I leave you with a question to ask yourself. Did staff do their due diligence researching Forest Service easements? And did they officially make the request to the Forest Service with a plan for Roundtree Road? That's all I have. Thank you for hearing us tonight.
Thank you for your comments.
Is there anyone else here in person that would like to provide a comment? Come on up to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record, and then I will start the clock for 3 minutes.
My name is Adam Dybel. I live at 8525 Chimney Springs Trail. I just asked the board to approve this condition removal and finally put this issue to bed. For perspective, this has been going on for 2/3 of Matt Ryan's career here. And the due diligence, we can talk about what should have been done, what could have been done. It wasn't done properly. The questions weren't asked at the time. They are been asked now. The answers have been provided. And there really is no other path forward that the developer can meet. There is a path forward that the county can meet, and the county can go and eminent domain claim a larger easement across private property owners' property and improve that road to a 60-foot wide road easement and make it a road that meets county road standards, if that's the direction that the homeowners want. But I don't think the neighbors want a long, straight county road. So I think, if you choose to go a different direction, I think there's a whole nother fight waiting. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any other public comment at this time?
We do have someone that has joined virtually, Don Meidinger, that would like to provide a public comment. Don, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak if you just want to unmute and then state your name and address. You can't see our clock, so I'll just notify you when the 3 minutes is up.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, please speak up a little louder though.
Okay, will do. Good evening, Chair Vasquez and the board. My name is Don Meidinger. I'm a 15-year-long homeowner at Ranch at the Peaks, 8341 Vista Peak Way. On behalf of many, I urge the board to reject the proposed plat amendment at this time. I contend that the board should leave conditions 7 and 18 in place until such time as the plat amendment is actually offered by the developer and the county determines the scope of its authority to improve Roundtree. The county has an existing easement granted to it. It's 100 feet wide for half of Roundtree Road from the Forest Service. The easement was given to us today, and the easement says that the county has the right to construct, operate, and maintain a highway in accordance with approved plans and specifications. So the concept of paving and widening is a bit of a red herring in this instance. If you look closely at the condition, it contemplated that there might be some back and forth with the Forest Service. Frankly,
the county folks driving around with a retired Forest Service person to inspect the road is not dispositive of what the United States government's position would be with respect to a road improvement. And to my knowledge, no application for a special use authorization has ever been made. So today, I believe the county, I know by virtue of the terms of the easement that the county could improve the southern half of Roundtree Road to a better standard than it is. It does not have to be paved, it does not have to be widened, it could just be improved. And with respect to the northern half, the county should make application for a special use permit to the Forest Service. And I believe the Forest Service would have to seriously consider that. Again, having one conversation 1 year ago with someone from the Forest Service who's no longer there doesn't get the job done. And that's not adequate due diligence. So again, this should be revisited and not set aside tonight. With respect to the condition for the trail, I want to make sure that everyone's on the same page. The developer has not offered a plat amendment. In fact, the public notice for this hearing was advertised as a plat amendment, and doing that was really deficient at best and misleading at worst. What should be done is this: if the trail is going to be set aside, the obligation to construct the trail, the developer should be required to amend the recorded plats. Why should all of the homeowners have left on their plat an easement for a trail that's never going to get built? Clean up the recorded plats, and then I think all of the owners would support it. I believe all the owners in Ranch at the Peaks thought that's what would happen. And that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is if the developers let out of the condition to build the trail, the easements remain, and that shouldn't be the case. And further, if this board is for some reason inclined to approve the developer's request to remove these conditions, they should direct the county not to release the developer's financial assurance. Condition 36 of the original ordinance required the developer to post financial assurance for improvements not completed. Recently, the county has sought a commitment from the developer to make improvements to the internal roads at Ranch at the Peaks so the county can accept those roads for maintenance. That's a new revelation to all the owners at Ranch at the Peaks, but the county's currently held financial assurance is really the solution to that problem. Every lot in Ranch at the Peaks was sold with the understanding that the roads were county accepted and maintained. The county should not permit the developer to get out of the obligation to construct the trail and improve Roundtree, and then also allow the developer to avoid having to address road improvements that are needed to the internal roads at Ranch at the Peaks. This community has no amenities whatsoever. And furthermore, there's the same situation that exists with
John, you'll
respect
need
to
to
fire.
wrap up.
Okay, I will. One more comment, please. There's the same situation, condition 1 in the ordinance that you have before you requires the plat to have a lot for a fire station. That's now been modified with the phase 3 final plat, and that needs to be cleaned up as well. I urge you to continue this matter tonight. And as an alternative, if you don't, and you approve these conditions, you should retain the financial assurance of the developer until this road improvements issue is addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Horstman.
And just for the record, Don, we have received your emails on this and your review of it. And just for the record, that will be included here in the public hearing.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Clerk Daly, do we have any more public comment?
Great, Chair Vasquez. We do. We have Mike Ferlazzo with a hand up in the Zoom format. Mike, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak. You'll just need to unmute and then state your name and address for the record, and we'll provide 3 minutes to speak. Mike, you can go ahead. You're unmuted. Mike, we're not able to hear you, but it shows that you are unmuted.
Hey, how about now? Am I
There we
unmuted
go.
now? Okay, thank you. Very sorry, technical problems. You can hear me now.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. This is Mike Ferlazzo at 9200 North Roundtree Road. I thank you, Board of Supervisors. Thank you, staff. Thank you, members of the community. Thank you, Cygnus, for coming out here. It does seem like we're between a rock and a hard place. I am concerned that the original intent to simply do some improving on Roundtree Road once phase 3 comes on board, I think that's still a reasonable thing to try to find a place of discussion. You know, certainly not paving, certainly not widening. It's a meandering dirt road that will be providing access not only to the current residents, but the future residents in phase 3. I would just hope that there'd be some ability to have discussion with the developer and with the Forest Service, who are not here. I mean, I don't know if they normally show up to things like this, but if there could be some way for a future discussion, simply for throwing some water, even on the dirt road after the development is in stage, or putting some more gravel down, some grading. You know, currently the county has been helping us with that, and it's been very nice. But I just think with the added traffic, it'd be nice if we could please enter into a discussion about what we can do to improve as to the original intent of the development being blown out to this degree. So that's all I had. Please, you're better at taking it from here than me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Clerk Daly, can the gentleman join that in, or does he need to sign up, or how's that work?
Yes, you can come up to the podium and please state your name and address, and then you'll be provided 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Wayne House. I live at 7223 Penny Lane in Ranch at the Peaks. I have been there almost 10 years now, and I own 2 lots. And I would simply like to echo Adam Dybel's comments to the effect that this has dragged on for 17 years. The Forest Service is not going to allow the road to be improved or paved. And apparently the county does have an agreement with the Forest Service under its Schedule A road requirements to maintain that road to the current level that they've maintained it for years and years. So I concur it's time to put this to bed. The other thing I would like to talk about a little bit is the trail easement. The trail was eliminated on the east side of Ranch at the Peaks, I think somewhat arbitrarily by the Board of Supervisors some years back, when they kept the trail on the west side. But I believe that the easements remain in place on the east side. So I don't know that that's too big of a legal factor. Maybe more hassle to get rid of the easement legally than it's worth. All that really matters to me as an owner of 2 lots affected by this trail is that the trail itself not be built. I really don't want to have to deal with liability issues for the trail. I don't want to have to be responsible for paying for maintenance for it through the HOA. I think a private trail through individual backyards is simply a bad idea. And it's time to let that one go as well. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Are there any other public comments at this time?
Virtually, that would still like to provide comment. Paul Santana has a hand raised. I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak, Paul. If you can please unmute and state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. I'm Paul Santana. I'm a 5-year resident of Ranch of the Peaks, 8389 Vista Peak Way, part of the Phase 1 purchase. So from the very beginning, I'd like to speak out in opposition of the removal of the condition of the paving of Roundtree Road. I agree with Don Meidinger fully, and I believe that the due diligence was not completed in this affair. There's a reason that this was delayed the first time. There's a reason that there's so much opposition to this piece. There's simply a lot going on that is not being spoken today in relation to the road improvements. The Roundtree Road is meant to be a form of egress for the community. And if that's not paved, there's going to be a tendency for these residents to use our existing roadways, which are in poor condition. As Dawn spoke before, there's a lot of complications with the road, ownership of the road, maintenance of the road, whether or not it's a county approved road, and that's still unsettled and not part of tonight's topic, but it does relate to this because it's going to increase flow on those roadways. I do not have any issue with removing the trail piece. I think that that's fair and it's up to the residents, and the majority of the residents do not want the trail, so that's not a problem. But I do support Dawn and her, excuse me, her earlier comments. There's a lot of information that's going on with this piece that I believe deserves a closer look. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments at this time? Okay, then in that case, do we have any more public comment?
We do. We have about 3 more on the virtual format. Michael BH via Zoom. I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak. If you can please state your name and address for the record. And go ahead and unmute and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, can you hear me? Great. My name is Michael Benhoren, and we live at 9150 Roundtree Road, and would just like to talk a little bit about the road. We don't really have an opinion on the trail, but we agree with everyone who wants it gone. You know, to my understanding, the improvement of Roundtree Road was tied to phase 3 of the development because it was going to increase traffic and use on Roundtree Road, which is, you know, despite being a beautiful country road, it does get a lot of pedestrian and equestrian and traffic, and it is sadly very dusty. And that was my understanding of why it was tied to phase 3 and not the other phases, because it was going to increase traffic. It seems to make sense. And I don't quite understand. There's been a couple of comments from people inside the Ranch at the Peak subdivision about opposing the improvement of Roundtree Road. I don't quite understand why they have an opinion on that. But it's neither here nor there. I do agree with much of what Mike Ferlazzo and Don Meidinger said. And what I really don't understand is when a developer buys a property with a condition that it knows very well, the previous developer tried to get rid of it and failed. They were aware of the condition. It had a burden on the property, and they were aware of it, and now are somehow able to just get rid of that burden without and get everything they want without any, I don't know, any concern apparently for the downstream use of Roundtree Road. And I don't believe, somebody said earlier that there's nothing the developer can do. I strongly disagree with that. And the county could, or nothing the county could do. I mean, the county, I'm not sure why the county improved the plat already without this condition being met. Because there's many things they could do. They could decrease the density. The county could have not allowed them to develop. I mean, that would be extreme, not allow them to develop it, but they could have decreased the density to ease the impact on Roundtree Road. They could have put a gate that or done. I mean, it seems a myriad of things that the county or the developer could do to ease the impact on Roundtree Road. And it's, if we're really trying to do what was, you know, just mentioned earlier, that, you know, benefit the county, and it seems that we would look into these other options. And that's really all I have. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you for your comments. Next comment, please.
At this time, we have Dee Bruning. I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak. If you can go ahead and unmute and state your name and address for the record, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, Dan Bruning here. We live at 8351 North Chimney Springs Trail. We have several neighbors here watching the webcast. Also at 7051 West Whitman Trail, 8155 North Chimney Springs Trail. And we are for the improvement of Roundtree Road. I guess the question that we have is for the board, how is it in the best interest of a neighborhood of 45 people with 45 new lots to not have a dedicated entryway to their own neighborhood? That is all.
Thank you for your comments. Next comment, please.
We have William Perry with a hand up in Zoom. William, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak. One second.
Hello, my name's William Perry. I'm property owner at 9032 Ranch at the Peaks Way. I'm currently in permitting to build my house there. When I purchased this property, there was a lot of things that there was expectations for the neighborhood, including the paving of Roundtree Road, including the expectation that all of the roads adjacent to my lot are county maintained, the fire station, the trail. I understand there's a lot of complications here, and honestly, you know, I can resonate with Wayne and Adam's comments regarding wanting to get this over with, but I just don't think we're quite there yet. I would like to, I agree with what Don has said, as well as what Paul has said in regards to, we need to figure out a conclusion. I want to get this to a conclusion, and I understand some of the complications here, but I don't think we're quite at that conclusion yet. And so there's a lot of information that we have just learned really recently, per what Don has spoken to already. And so at least giving a little more time for us to find a appropriate conclusion to this and be able to put this behind us and move forward, I think would be appropriate. So I'd urge the board to do that, please. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next comment, please.
Again, if there are anyone that wants to provide, I do have Debbie Martin with a hand up in Zoom. Debbie, I've gone ahead and allow you to speak. If you can unmute, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Debbie, you are unmuted if you want to go ahead and speak. Debbie, we can't hear you. You are unmuted. Oh, now you've muted yourself. There you go. You've unmuted. You're muted. If you can unmute, there you go. We see you muting and unmuting. All right, if there's anyone else that would like to provide comment, you can raise your hand by hitting the raise hand icon. If you're in Zoom, if you've joined by telephone, you can hit *9 and that will raise your hand. Debbie, I see your hand raised and you are unmuted, so you can go ahead and speak. Looks like you may be having technical difficulties. Is there anyone else here in person that wanted to provide a comment at the podium? Okay, and I do have M. Ecker that had a hand up, but does not have a hand up now. M. Ecker, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak. If you want to speak, you can go ahead and unmute. And they are not unmuting. Debbie Martin has unmuted again. Debbie, if you want to try speaking. And we can't hear you, Debbie. Other than that, there are no hands raised on the virtual side of the meeting.
Okay, one last chance. Is there any other comments, but either here in the room or virtually at this time? Yes, you may have a comment.
Chair, Vice Chair, thank you so much. Again, Lindsay Shuby with law firm of Gamage and Burnham. Just the one thing I wanted to add is, and we touched on this, this isn't the primary, this isn't a primary access for anyone at the peaks of subdivision. When this original requirement was put in place, it was when the other primary access was potentially unavailable. And so there's no one at the peaks whose primary access is this right away. Just wanted to make sure that was made in the staff presentation, but I just wanted to reiterate that point after some of the public comments.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments at this time before we close the public hearing? Any comments on the virtual?
If I may.
Supervisor Horstman.
Would love to have further comments with the board and also with staff. And I am requesting we keep the public hearing open, depending on some of the questions, or I should say the answers from the staff. And so I would ask that we just keep this open at this time.
Okay, thank you. In order to do so, do we need to have a vote or a motion, or do we just move forward?
I think it would require a motion and a vote in order to keep the hearing open.
Can I please have a motion?
I move that at this time, and pending further answers to questions from staff that may also require us to keep or ask for further public comment, I am going to make a motion that we, in fact, keep the public hearing open right now.
Thank you. We have a motion from Supervisor Horstman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Begay. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 I do have Michael BH with a hand back up on the virtual.
At this point, I think it's most important that we talk to staff first. I think Michael B.
And then we go back to the applicant again. So applicant is not part of that public comment. We'll get back to you. So I'm just, there's a process here. So I'm just trying to see. So the public hearing is still open.
I wouldn't think we needed a vote either, but we were told we needed a vote. So we do have a motion in a second.
Well, it's still open. And there's somebody that wants to comment, so let's just keep it open without taking a vote.
Okay,
Would ask, we have a motion in a second on the floor. We have some legal advice. So at this point, even though I understand what you're saying, I think we have a motion in a second on the floor. In fact, we have a vote.
you have a vote either way, Supervisor Fowler.
Well, this is Okay, just, I will vote yes, but then we have a process. We don't need to vote to keep it open. It's already open. It's already open. We can withdraw your motion. We cannot, we don't have to go with it. But we are the board. We're the board. We can make that decision.
But we have a motion and a second. We've already approved it. So we're staying open. So either way, we're staying open.
So we will leave this public hearing open. Do recognize that we do have someone that wanted to speak. Is this person has already spoken?
That is
Okay.
correct. Michael has already provided comment.
Okay, and then, so then in that case, I don't believe he can speak again, correct?
It's up to you.
All right, well, just so that we at least finish off tonight, this will be the last comment. We'll let him say his final comments and then we'll be done for the night. The hearing will be continue open.
I have questions for staff.
Okay, and we will move forward to continue this conversation on a later date, pending the questions for staff so that we can have some answers before we come and make a decision on this hearing. Okay. Supervisor Horstman.
May I? Jay, I understand that Roundtree, which is owned by the Forest Service, in which we have a Schedule A agreement for maintenance on that, is not in the subdivision, correct?
Mr. Chair and Supervisor Horstman, that's correct.
And at the time, Chimney Springs Road, which is in the subdivision, was not listed as the main road or, the egress, ingress, because there was a problem getting easements from private property owners in order to create that road. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I guess what I'm trying to get at is what's the main road into this subdivision at this time?
Mr. Chair and Supervisor Horstman, that's Chimney Springs. That was always intended to be the primary ingress and egress. Like you said, in the beginning of the subdivision approval process, there were access easements that needed to be obtained from, I think it was 4 property owners. Those had long since been obtained and the roads built, and that's the primary ingress egress.
And so really Roundtree Road is really an emergency access road. What's the intent of Roundtree Road now?
Mr. Chair and Supervisor Horstman, for the sake of Ranch at the Peaks subdivision, the internal subdivision, Roundtree is intended to be a secondary or emergency ingress and egress.
So, we're here tonight, 17 years later, because of, quite frankly, work that probably needed to be taken care of 17 years ago. But we're all here now, and we need to do it right. And I want to get it done right. And I'm concerned about that we finally get our ducks in a row on this. And I am concerned with the comments that Dawn has made with regards to if we let the trail go, those easements stay in place. And even if those easements aren't being used, it is recorded against the property. And the same with a Roundtree Road. Right now, all indications on the plats show it to be the main egress ingress, and Chimney Springs Road is not shown to be the major ingress egress. How can we clean this up?
Mr. Chair and Supervisor Horstman, the plat amendment that we have, it does show Chimney Springs as the primary ingress and egress. As far as the easements for the trail, Mr. House was correct back in 2016, when the other trail, the construction of the trail on the other side of the subdivision was eliminated. The discussion revolved around keeping the easement so that there was essentially an open space in that strip of the subdivision. And at the time that was palatable. So this is the same request as what was proved in.
And another question I have is that the I've driven Roundtree Road. In fact, I drove it most recently today just to see it. And it is a very well-maintained dirt road, but for about the first quarter mile, it is in fact paved. And there was a question as to how much of the easement that the county currently has is at the portion that is where it's paved. Do you have more of an easement that's not covered in the pavement? Can you explain that?
Mr. Chair and Supervisor Horseman, there is about a quarter mile of pavement, a little less than that, I think, as part of an easement that was granted in 1973. The Schedule A is long beyond that. So that agreement came long after that easement was established. The easement does appear to be several hundred feet farther in, but that's just currently dirt. Because of the Schedule A agreement, I would presume that that is what the Forest Service wants to see now, is the Schedule A agreement came after that easement was established. But again, that was 50 years ago this year. I don't know what kind of discussions took place then.
So what you're saying is we don't need to clean up the plats. They're correct. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. The other is this, taking a look at these resolutions, which go back, and I am sorry, and the question was made by someone, or a comment that was made by someone about, this should have been taken care of a long time ago. We agree. Nobody is disputing that. It wasn't, and we're here now. So we've got to do the best we can, as I said, for the best public good and consistent with what our legal rights and what the developer's legal obligations are. And I want to point out that some of these resolutions, first resolution on here goes back to 2006. Item number 7, and I'm just going to talk the portion of it that relates to Roundtree Road. And for my colleagues, we do have it in our packets, and it's, I have no idea because it's not numbered. It's page of the resolution of 2006. It's page 29 of the resolution. We take a look at 7, and again, I'm only going to read the portion of it that has to do with Roundtree Road. The applicant shall also be responsible for the improvement of Roundtree Road from Taylor Springs Road to Highway 180 to county standards. And then I'm going to note that when you move forward, 2009, the resolution before the board in 2009 for the first time doesn't use the word improvement anymore. It uses the word paving. And the first whereas on page 33 of that is an application to modify 2 conditions pertaining to the paving of Roundtree and Taylor Springs Road, which, by the way, I was up there, as I said today, it looks like they're paving Taylor Springs Road. But with regards to Roundtree Road, that dirt road, and I will note that on the 2016 resolution, again, we see the word paving Roundtree Road, which is not the word, and we all know words have meaning, that was utilized in the 2006 resolution. So then I'm going to take a look at the Forest Service letter, and the board received the email from Deidre Marks, and I know she's not there anymore. And she talks about Schedule A as a maintenance agreement that she has, the Forest Service has with the county. And she talks about the request for paving, and she says the Forest Service does not wish to pave the road, as that doesn't meet Forest Service needs, and we would not have the ability to maintain the pavement if the road were to be returned to the forest from the permit. These permits are 5-year permits. Is that correct?
They're variable.
Yeah. And what we have right now is a 5-year permit, or?
I'm not 100% certain what the permit length is right now.
And also, it says to improve, straighten, or pave the road, the Forest Service would need to increase the width of the road and create an easement into the experimental forest, which of course it's right up against. Again, that doesn't meet the needs of the Forest Service for a road that mostly serves private land holdings. Therefore, the Forest Service will not be issuing an easement nor allowing the pavement of Roundtree Road. So I think it's very clear the Forest Service, who owns the property, is not going to agree to paving, and they won't agree to an easement. So the question that I have, going back to the 2006 resolution, which doesn't use the word paving, it uses the word improvement. And I guess we do not have from the Forest Service any kind of statement from them as to whether they would allow, quote, improvement, something less than paving, and something that would be less than something necessary to get an easement for. I know that Public Works and the information that was provided to us indicated the possibility of what is called dirt stabilization. I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what dirt stabilization is, but it sounds like it's some ability to be able to stabilize the road more to hopefully an improved state and maintain it when there's a lot of passenger vehicle use, which is how it's supposed to be maintained by the county. So I guess I'd like to know whether Christopher, you have talked to the Forest Service about that, or Jay, if you've talked to the Forest Service about specifically looking at improvements that would not be paving, it would not require us to obtain an easement.
Supervisor Horstman, I can respond to the J portion of that question. So we have reached back out to the Forest Service to see who has replaced Deirdre, and we have not had a response. So we're waiting.
Thanks.
Thank you, Supervisor Horstman. Christopher Tressler.
Thanks, Chair Vasquez and Supervisor Horstman. So to address a couple of the questions, it is a 5-year agreement that we have with the Forest Service. And we say Schedule A because it's an IGA that we have with the Forest Service to maintain the road. We have similar roads that we maintain, like Lake Mary Road. Under the Schedule A, even though there might be more right-of-way along the road, like Lake Mary Road, we can only maintain it in the nature and the condition that it is currently in. Then we also, even in some of the activities that we might undertake, need approval from the Forest Service as part of that agreement in our Schedule A roads. That Schedule A is coming in for renewal in 2024. We're meeting with the Forest Service to look at those different roads and the nature of. So that's one. The other is I have not met with the Forest Service to talk about improvement of Roundtree Road or anything outside of the paving of the road. This Jay and his team have met with.
Supervisor Horstman.
So bottom line is this has been going on for a long time. And quite frankly, it has put not only the people who live, the residents who live in that area, in a difficult position. It also has put the developer in a difficult position. On the other hand, I think the county has a responsibility to meet with the Forest Service and seeing what, if anything, can be done with regards to improvements. Now, I know county has done a good job of maintaining those roads. Wrote it today. It looks great. But I also know that when the weather changes or when you get a lot of use on that road, I know the county's still going to be there to maintain it. But what I would like us to do is make sure we've looked under every rock and every piece of gravel to see, what can or may be allowed that may do something along the line of improvements to that road, not maintenance, which we're doing, but for improvements. And by the way, we don't own the property. This is Forest Service property. And I also do not want to put the developer in a position that we have a condition that cannot be met. That's ridiculous, quite frankly. On the other hand, I think from looking back at the 2006 resolution, it does refer to improvements. Paving would be something, or improvement would be less than paving. And I'm not sure why the word changed over time. And I looked at all of the records you all have provided us, and I can't find an answer to that. I can surmise an answer to that, but I don't really know what the answer is. And so I think it'd be worthwhile, members of the board, if we keep this hearing open and that we request and ask that our staff meet with the Forest Service and see what, if anything, they would consider doing with regards to improving the roads.
I agree with that. Are there any other comments or questions from board members? Supervisor Fowler.
So I'm thinking, we have agreements with the Forest Service. We have agreements with other agencies. And I'm just wondering when that agreement expires and when it will comes back up, because these agreements it takes time to negotiate. And when it comes to the federal government, it takes a lot longer. And you just don't know how that's going to pan out. So, when we're thinking about roads and county maintained roads, this is, we have several roads that are on the federal lands. We even provide law enforcement on federal lands. And for that reason, we're always negotiating or advocating to have the federal government, the various agencies, to provide enough funding to be able to maintain the federal lands. We love our federal lands, but we need to maintain it and in order to have safety on federal lands. County ends up having to provide these services. These are essential services that we're talking about. So I'd like to just ask Chris when those negotiations, and if something like this was to happen, how do you perceive it to move forward?
Chair Vasquez and Supervisor Fowler. So when you ask if something like this were to happen, or excuse me, I'm sorry, but are you referring to the renewal of the IGA or an alternative improvement to Roundtree Road?
Yeah, so that's two different paths that we have to take. So if it's just, we're only sent, because they usually the agreements we have are for several roads in one package. That's how we work. So now what we're doing is we're isolating into one neighborhood. And so, that alone, just, so how would that, how would we even take that approach? So it would be you and your team to be able to, work on that.
Sure. Chair Vasquez and Supervisor Fowler. It's you're right. We have several IGAs and MOUs that we're working through with different groups and different agencies. And in this one in particular, the process would likely be that we would have to pull it out of the Schedule A road agreement and probably enter into something similar to a highway easement deed or a special use permit. And because of the nature of the maintenance and the different type of work, then in other places that we've done, we've changed the maintenance regime. Typically, there's an environmental clearance process, like a NEPA clearance process that the Forest Service undertakes. And so, yeah, it's somewhat of a lengthy process. I guess while I'm here, I'll also say that county at Public Works, we prioritize maintenance with respect to average daily traffic. And so as traffic improves or increases on some roads, then we aim to grade those roads and improve those roads. And we've identified some roads that we're trying different stabilizers on. As technology increases, we're looking at using some of these things that may keep the dust down and can improve the roads, just falling short of a full-on pavement. And so there's other things that we can look at. We have more graders than we've ever had before. We have really good staff, and we're doing a better job, I feel like, than we ever have before of maintaining roads, and especially during the winter time and things like that. And so I think we're committing to maintaining Roundtree Road better than we ever have before, maintaining it to that such that a passenger car can traverse the road on a consistent basis. With respect to the internal roads, it's the intent. It's been the original intent for the county to maintain the internal roads. And we're working with Cygnus Capital to come to an agreement for those roads. And as they build into phase 3 roads, that we'll inspect them and we'll follow the appropriate process to absorb those phase 3 roads for sure into the county inventory. And so we're working through that process. That it's always been the intent, I believe, of the development and of the county to maintain those roads. Frankly, we've plowed snow on those roads for a long time. It's been to the betterment of the community, and we really want to finalize these agreements and get more assurances to the residents of the area that who's maintaining and what's going to happen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments at this time? Vice Chair Begay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just sitting here thinking that this road belongs to Forest Service, and we should be able to start from there to start addressing this issue here at hand, and then go from there, because I think it's important that we make the right decision, like I said earlier, that, in the best interest of the community there. And I just want to thank the staff for really working hard on, road maintenance and agreements that we have within the Coconino County. And so I think it's best possibly just to table this until we can get the Forest Service to, really sit down with the county and others that, are affected, and maybe some home buyers, just to iron this out, because this is all Matt's doing. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, he always teases me, so it's my turn to tease him. But anyway, certainly, we need to start from there. Go back to Forest Service and see. And I don't know when you contact Forest Service to, regarding this issue, to see if they can make a comment or bring some solutions. But, that needs to happen first. So I just want to thank everybody for taking part and making comments, to the board. It's well taken, and that, we just need to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Begay. Supervisor Horstman.
So, and I also want to point out, this has been going on for a long time. I don't want this inconsistency to go on very much longer. I'd like to get this thing settled. I think it's important for the residents. I think it's important for the developer. So at this time, I would make a motion, and that motion would be that, in fact, we continue this and we continue the public hearing until November 7th, which is a board meeting date, and direction to our staff to meet with the Forest Service. And between now and before then, and determine what, if anything, we can do with regards to improvements and the limitations, as well as the extent that we could do improvements on Roundtree Road. And they'd be brought back to the board on November 7th. If there is any follow-up on the public hearing, we have follow-up on the public hearing, and I would hope that we could make a vote at that time. So my motion is to put this, keep the public hearing open, and continue this until November 7th with direction to the board, or I'm sorry, direction to our staff to meet with the Forest Service on this.
Thank you. We have a motion by Supervisor Horstman. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chair, I'll second the motion.
We have a second by Vice Chair Begay. Are there any further comments before we move forward?
Mr.
All right.
Chair. Mr. Chair and Supervisor Horseman, there was
Yes.
one item that hasn't been clarified yet was with regards to the fire station that Ms. Manager brought up. So the original approval did allow for a parcel of land to be given to the fire district to build a fire station if they chose to. They chose not to. Part of that parcel's in a floodplain and they didn't see the need for a fire station at that location. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
Who didn't see the need?
The fire district, the chief, Summit, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything else before we take a vote on our motion to table this item? Okay, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion approved. Thank you, everyone. We will continue this on November 7th. Thank you. Good night.